Good morning, YouTubers. Welcome to episode 33 of ShrigleytubeTV. Lots going on this week. Hope you enjoy what you see. I thought I'd better start by saying really sorry if any of you plan to come to Race Retro. Really upset that it got cancelled. I had a bit of a grump on Tuesday when I found out. But one of them things, I'm afraid, there was water logging and the only way you could get there was by a canoe, which was no good. So luckily, I spoke to a kind lady called Helen at Clarion Events, and she said, why don't you transfer your booking to the NEC Practical Classic and Restoration Show on the 22nd of March. So I thought, I'm all kitted out to go. I've got my boxes of bits ready and things like that. So we're going to go to the Practical Classic show. If you fancy joining us there and meeting up and seeing getting a t-shirt, whatever, I'd love to meet you all. So yeah, that's the plan for that. So we got over that quite quickly, got on with some work, and I've been having a big thinking to myself about sharing some stuff with you guys that I was keeping it a bit secret. It's James's engine for 2024. Now I didn't actually, he's got his own engine now, and I wasn't going to sponsor him like I have done in the past. I wanted him to stand on his own 2 feet sort of thing, just for his own sake rather than mine. But I had this little idea of doing this offset crank engine, and I was keeping it all secret. And then I thought to myself, you know what, there's far cleverer people than me that watch this channel, and no doubt if I put a post, if I do a video all about this new engine I'm building, someone will have done something with it, because everything's been done before, you've got to remember that. And someone will say, why don't you try this? Or just like we did with the crankshaft, where the clever chap said, why don't you use the excess material to make it a longer stroke? I never even thought of that. That was a YouTube viewer. And I've had loads of other emails and messages, and going back to that as well, if you have emailed me or messaged me, I did try and get through the messages the other day, but I've been really busy. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be ignorant. If you do want to get hold of me, just bell me, leave a voicemail, I'll ring you back. I'm sorry, I just get bombarded a little bit. I just got so much going on. Anyway, let's have a look at this engine. So this engine, basically, it's a Hillman imp engine. It's all to within regulation. It's a 1040cc, so it's 74mm bore, and I'm using the motorbike piston and rod that we've seen before, the one we used in 1120. But if you look at the top of the block, you'll notice straight away that it's on an angle. And then what I've had to do, I've had to re-drill all the thread holes for the head. And what I've basically done is I've put the cylinder liner on an angle like this. So if we want to make it straight like an imp engine, I'll just pull the engine back a little bit, the video back, sorry. You'll see it needs to be like that. Now what that does, it's all to do with the rod angles. If you can imagine, because TDC is no longer TDC, because the rod is, the piston is over to one side. Let's get a rod and show you. So at TDC now, the rod is effectively already like that. And the idea being is that as we get to the power bit where it's pushing the best, the rod stays straighter as it chases the crank round. Because if you think, the reason why we get side load on a piston on the thrust side is because when it fires and it pushes the piston down, the rod effectively tries to spin round in a circle. That's why the longer the rod, the less side load we see on the side of the piston skirt. So the idea is that by doing this offset block, we'll keep the rod straighter as it goes down. There's a few other trade-offs as well. It does change the dynamics so much in that TDC to BDC is no longer 180 degrees. It's something like 182.5, which means that going back up again is like 177.5. It's a strange phenomenon, but it increases the power stroke and reduces the pumping losses because it's obviously shorter on the way back up again. Now the angles are worse on the way back up, but that doesn't matter because we've got a visitor. Right, we'll just knock that off at that and we'll come back to that in a bit. Sorry about that, we said a knock at the door and it was Mr. James Ibottson, the racing driver. James, I've just set my professional microphone up.
At that.
Mate, what have you got there?
Well, this I've heard it's your birthday, so
Mate,
how old are you now? 23?
24, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Wow, look at that.
There we go.
Marks and Spencer's, mate.
That's Chloe's doing, not mine. So well done, Chloe.
Would it make me a bad person if it never actually made it home and I just ate it at work?
No, that's all right. That was the plan anyway. I was trying to fatten you up anyway.
You had a plan.
Yeah, well, I hear you coming out racing this year, so...
Yeah, well, I heard a rumour as well that you were officially the second fastest Hillman driver of modern day times.
Oh, right. Who's first then?
Me?
I thought you had to finish a race for it to count.
No. Oh, mate, this isn't good. No. Yeah, that's going to come, that, mate.
All I remember from last year is, we've been building up to this for years and years. I used to come and watch you race when I was like that. And then...
mate, you were that big when you were born.
Yeah. And then I finally get to race you. And I remember at Brands in the first race, you were catching up with me. And then I see you waving a gear stick in the rearview mirror.
I know, mate. I just got fully overexcited at the thought of overtaking you, and the gear lever came off of me. That was the second time I cried. The first time was when Russell was born. Second time when the gear lever came off. I guess when the third time was when the throttle cable broke on the last lap of the second race.
Oh no!
That was a disastrous weekend, but I did enjoy it, and I will be back.
Yeah, that's all right.
This year will be good.
Well, that's all right, because you'll only make me faster, so...
It'll be good. It'll be all good. Right, well, thank you very much for the presents. Right. And, I was thinking we could go go-karting today.
Oh, I'm not really feeling it today.
Right. Well, it's my birthday, so that can mean one thing. Spam, egg and cheese.
Yeah.
Let's get some breakfast. Okay, we were just getting back to where we were before, when the doorbell rang. Now, obviously, it's just been... now James is here and he's giving me my presents, etc. So we're just looking at your new engine. What are your thoughts? James? Do you like it?
I do, yeah. Anything...
quirky?
But anything that comes out of here is... I'm happy with, so...
Oh, mate, it's like the best customer ever, isn't he? Yeah, well, I'm really, really excited. It might not work. That is the problem. All this idea of changing rod angles and side load and 182.5 degrees from top dead to bottom dead. This is all just a theory this is what happens when you've got too much time on your hands and you go on YouTube and watch all the videos about offset boring.
I don't know about too much time, but what have I always said to you would do well on the channel?
What's that?
Well, something needs to go bang on the dyno, so I feel like people are going to get a kick out of that.
I know, maybe we should get like an A series engine and then pretend it's an imp and take it to 9,000 for 30 seconds. No, I don't think I could do it to an engine, I'd feel cruel.
I wouldn't feel cruel blowing an A series up. I feel like that's the best thing for it. Sorry everyone if that's upset anyone, but
yeah, they've got their own place, Do you know what, mate? I have a bit of I do have a little bit of love for a B series engine. The head is pants, but the bottom end is bulletproof. A good dynamics as well. Anyway, we'll talk about it over time. I've got one to do for my dad, so we'll get into that at some point. So, just to finish off what I was trying to say about this engine, so this is going to be potentially James's engine if it survives the dyno and does everything it's supposed to do. It's using the motorbike piston and rod which you've already proven in the 1120, but on a standard stroke now, so it's only 60.5 stroke. So it's just a 1040. So you might remember when I got the cranks done, I did 2 cranks. This was a brand new crankshaft, so this has never been run, and it had a little bit of surface rust on it, so it wasn't really suitable. So I got it turned. I turned it down and I had it ground, so it's going to run with the motorbike piston and rods. It's all nice and light. So we'll have to find out in due course. I've got some more work to do. Right, so sorry, just got cut off there. Yeah, so we'll find out in due course how it performs on a dyno, and of course I will include it on my channel so you guys can see. Now, James, what we're going to do is we're going to do some work on your head now. So are you ready to get your gloves on and start cutting the valve seats, etc.?
You're not making me work after Chloe bought you a cake yesterday.
Oh, mate.
No, that's fine. We'll get the gloves on.
I think you'd do a better job than me anyway. Right, we have here James's cylinder head. Now, this is James's own personal head that he uses on his race car now. Well, so he's got his own full kit and his own full setup of race engine for this year, and hopefully we'll get him into the offset job at some point, depending on whether it performs well and survives the dyno. So this is the head. Do you want to tell us a bit about the history of this head, James?
Yeah, so when last year's engine went bang at Castle Combe, Dad gave me one of his old spare hill climb engines, which was hadn't been used for a while. It was a 998, and we bought it to 10, 12.
Yeah, that's it. 73 mil. I remember now.
That's it. And
that was for Brands Hatch, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You built it on the Saturday and one on the Sunday. Is that engine?
That's it. Yeah.
Go on, rub it in.
Yeah, won the class twice.
Oh,
yeah. So
twice.
Yeah, we finished the race twice.
Right. Do you want these seats cut in or not? Right. So sorry. Go on. I'm interested.
No, that's right. So yeah, I went to I bought this head off David Hill, and we gave it a quick clean up, didn't we? I mean, it wasn't, it's not fantastic, but it got us out of trouble.
Right.
It was okay, yeah. It got us out of trouble, but it does need a bit of love. Some of the valves are at different heights, and
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so as a plan, as I see this head now, what I thought we'd do is we would first of all weld it, because it's got his signature there, OAP97. Very famous driver, David Hill there. I'm sure he watches the channel, so he does. Hello, David, and I'll look forward to seeing you at Kings Lynn for the stock cars, because we go and watch the stock cars together, me and Dave. So we're going to weld it here, just because that's where they go thin and crack, and that will obviously put a little bit of distortion in it. So what we're going to do then is we're going to skim it, redo the wheel spring grooves, and we'll put the support screws in here that we've been over several times, just to make sure the chamber's all strong. And then we did notice that the valves were a slightly different height, so we'll do this is the lowest one. We'll do this one first, set the stop on the machine, and then we'll do all the other valves to that height, and then it just means that the compression, the CCs in the chamber will all be even. So when you're sneaking up on it with the advance on the dyno, we've not got one cylinder with more compression than the other. It's just important, that it all matches. So we'll make all the valve heights uniform. We'll redo the wheel strings, skim it, blah, 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 blah. And then I don't think we're going to get it done today because I'm in birthday mode, but we will get it done and in the post next week. Is that okay?
I suppose I do, yeah.
And then, James, have you got some news for us about possibly what you're going to be doing for the NEC on the 22nd?
Oh, yeah. So, as everyone will know, Race Retro got cancelled, which was a bit of a shame. But we're going to make up for that by going to the NEC, aren't we? So
excellent.
We're going to try and get my imp there. Me and Chloe are going to try and polish it up a bit and make it look presentable.
Mate, it looks great.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Well, it looks all right at 100 metres away. You're going 100 mile an hour, but don't get up close.
That's how a race car should look. All this prestigious race cars, it's no good. You don't want to get a rub on one of them, do you?
That's it.
Right, brilliant. So we'll look forward to that. We've got another car to go on the stand as well yet, but it's yet to be decided who's. I think we're going to try and persuade Mr. Benoit. Oh no, Benoit's racing it somewhere, isn't he? Benoit's at Donington that weekend. Right, we'll find someone. Brill, thanks. Right, being a control freak, I just had to do the first one. So if we just look, we can see I've just used some engineer's blue on the back of the valve so that we can get a witness to make sure everything was nice, and it sounded nice. It did bounce before I covered it in blue, but that's quite good. So we're happy with the tool set, we're happy with the contacts area. So what we're going to do now is, James, it's your turn. You're going to do it. So I'll stand to one side and set you up. So all we've got to do is basically put that like that, and then I tell you what, can you put the pilot in the hole? I'll do the video in. Oh, I've got my cable cut. Right, you go that side, I'll go this side. Yeah, so go to number 2 inlet valve.
Yep.
Put that in all the way to the bottom, so it goes right the way through to the base. That's it. So that's it. Spring on. That just keeps the load pushing upwards. I've set the stop on the machine, so this valve will be the same height as the last one. That's it. Push him down. Not just them little drive bobbins just locate, but they'll do that when you come to push down. Don't worry.
Yep.
Right. Turn that knob clockwise. Right. Let the slack come and we'll just let the slack hit the stop there, so it's hard against there.
Yeah.
Now it'll self-center. It'll come down real slow. You can wrap it until you get to the point where you're about to touch the seat. You'll hear it touching in one place first because it's probably not quite right. That's it. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
That's it. Keep the load on so it doesn't start to rub. A bit more. Is that hard against the stop? push it a little bit harder. That's it, keep going. Right, this one must be lower. I think we'll have to just adjust the seat height. We'll have to go back and do the first one again, okay? Right, we're just having another go at this now. Basically, we've set the stop a little bit deeper so that we actually get all the valves the same height. That next cylinder was a little bit lower already. So James is just going to go in now. All right. You can hear it's uneven. That's where the seat's not quite concentric to the guide. And as we get to full depth, hopefully we'll hear it go with a uniform cut all the way around, so we know that we've got a good contact. It's just done the top angle so far. Are you on? A bit more? Got any more in you? That's it. Yeah.
It's sounding a bit better now.
Yeah, lean on the stop quite hard and then leave it there. That's it. Right, sounds like we've got a cut all round. Let's have a look at that with the engineer's blue. Okay, YouTubers, it's Sunday night. Hopefully you're sat on your two-piece sleep with your popcorn watching last week's video that I've just put on. I'm in the garage and I thought I'd do an update on the space frame imp. So as you can see, I've decided I was going to put like a crisscross in here, you know, but I didn't want to make it too hard to get my legs in with me getting a bit older, you know. So what I decided was I'd look in the blue book, and in the blue book it gives you lots of different designs, and something I saw is really common with a lot of the modern designed rally roll cages is they have a double down bar and they try and make it straight so it can't kink. Because you look at that, you know, if you got a real bad impact, say you were on your side and someone hit you there, that'd just fold and it'd be on your knees. So I put this extra bar in to try and, well, I was just trying to think of the best way of making the car stronger. So I know I've got proper roll cage tube there, so boom, nothing can get me from there. It will reduce visibility a little bit, but not a lot. And obviously I put this door bar in here, comes up to probably just under my armpit height, so I'll still be able to slip in there and jump in the seat, etc. But I think that'll be quite strong. That this is all boxed in with aluminium, you see, so you can almost sit on that if you wanted to. But yeah, I think I've got the best compromise for weight, strength and safety, or I think I have anyway. And obviously, like I discussed last time, I've welded these bits so we've got double parts, so I'll get some nice high tensile 3/8 UNF cap heads in there with some now lock bolts, same at the back here. So it's it's welded and it's also like an original safety devices cage. So I've done all that, and then at the back here, this is the original point where the seatbelt harnesses came from. So I've ordered these from Demon Tweaks. These are meant to go under your floor and you drill a hole and obviously just you screw like an eyelet into them to mount your cage. So I'm going to chop out a bit of the box section here, put some more in, and then weld these two, and then we know that we've got two nice seats directly in front of the seat there for the harnesses to come back onto. So that's the plan there. So I've just bought another bar. Where's it gone? There it is. This is from the roll spec cages. Nice piece of bar there. It's whatever it's meant to be, 1.6 mil thick, 38 mil OD. So we'll get that welded. I'm going to do one on the passenger side as well, just in case. You know, at the back, I'm not concerned about the back coming down because we've got this piece. It's got a good hoop. It's nice and straight. All the load could be directed down. It was just the front. So hopefully that will be make the a nice triangulated cage now, so that if we do have a whoopsie, we've got the best chance of survival. Okay, good morning YouTubers, it's Monday morning. We're going to try and get this built up and ready to go on dyno tomorrow before Wednesday. And I thought, I've had quite a few emails off people and messages about cam timing. I know we've been through it several times, and I've decided to make the shortest possible video all about cam timing so that it gives you the best chance of absorbing the information before you get bored and switch off. So for those that are struggling, it's dead easy. This at the moment, the piston is down the bore. I have backed it off. I have set this to 0. This is the clock gauge, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the if you look, the lobe is off lift. Now this cam runs 175 valve lift at TDC. So I've already set this up so I know it's right. So I'm cheated a bit. I'm just going through the motions for you guys. So I'm turning the camshaft or I'm turning the crank, and I'm going to turn it around until we've got 175 valve lift. So there's 50, there's 100, there's 150, and then when we get to 25, that'll be 175 valve lift. Now I've got a little paint mark there which is lined up, and I've got a little proper TDC marker there which is also lined up. So now the piston is at the top of the bore, bang on TDC, and the inlet is open 175 valve and the exhaust to be about 135. Now what we can do is we can also shine a torch down the inlet port there, and we should be able to see. I'll just zoom in. You'll see the overlap of the cam, which is where both valves are held open. Where am I? There's the torch, there you go. So you can see the inlet valve on the right is slightly ahead of the exhaust valve on the left. So that's on an overlap. Great. So I'm gonna quit at that. That's 2 minutes. Hopefully, if you were just a little bit stuck, that will help you understand a little bit more on how the cam timing works. Good afternoon, YouTubers. I just on with Dino in the 1040, the CTCRC engine that we put the steel crankshaft in last week. I thought, what can I do today that's going to cheer myself up, because obviously we got the news last night that Race Retro had been cancelled due to the bad weather. So I was all set up, ready to go, got a new card machine, got all my business cards to hand out, stickers for everybody, and t-shirts everywhere, and boxes of carburetors and treasures to sell, and had cancelled it. So I thought, what can I do? I thought, I know, I'll dyno Mike's engine, that'll make me happy. So I've been dynoing this, I've been creeping up on it gently. I do like this engine. It's obviously been, you know, a steel crank, steel rodded engine. It gives me an extra, I feel sort of an extra element of confidence when I'm dynoing it. Although I have been very good behaved, I haven't been past 8,000 RPM. I'm just keeping it all nice and friendly. I've been messing about trying to trim the fuel. I think I've got a bit of a better compromise. We've sacrificed a little bit of top end for some mid-range. I know Mike doesn't often go down there, he does tend to keep it above sort of 5,500, but it is nice if you put your foot down and it works. So a little bit leaner in the middle now. So for example, the exhaust just fell out. Right, 1 second, I have to go and put the exhaust. Right, brilliant. Now I've just broke the exhaust right near the maul grip, so that was a good move, wasn't it? Anyway, so we'll run it anyway as it is, because I'm pretty happy with it. I have already been through all this. So I was just saying, I've pulled a bit of fuel out in the middle, which has made the mid-range better. So we get it to 4,000 RPM, and imagine it's coming out of the a corner now in, say, third gear, so it's well loaded up. Put a lot of, quite a bit of load in the dyno. So wide open it, bring it down to 4. Yeah, flies round. He's gonna have no problem with that. So I'll just keep loading the dyno up. Oh, it appears to be jammed. What's going on there? More problems. Right, sorry about that. We had a problem earlier where we had a water leak burst in the clutch for the 24 volt motor that powers the dyno got wet, and then it started slipping. So just had to tighten the clutch plates on it. Anyway, it's all working now. So we put some load on. Try and get a 6,000 figure. So 5,000, good 70 foot-pound there. Back him up a bit. Go back. 6,000. Good 80. Maybe 82, 83. Holding it there. Still get to 8. Still holding 78 at 8. Just made it to 85 there. I was trying to keep them to 8 while I was looking at the torque, but it seemed to hang on really well. So I think this will be quite powerful. I've looked at his figures from last year and we've definitely got him some little gains in the middle, so hopefully he'll be happy with that. Right, I'll stop waffling and we'll get on with some more work now. Okay, YouTubers, something we've not done before. This is the steel crank 1040 that we just run on the dyno. and I've disconnected it from the main shaft on the dyno, so it's not attached. And the reason I've done that is because sometimes we get a bit of a situation where the engine accelerates fine attached to the dyno, because it's got to accelerate that shaft, and inside that dyno there's a giant bronze, we'll call it a water wheel for want of a better description, but anyway, because of the inertia the engine can't accelerate quickly. So the pump jets, if they're not quite right, you can't tell because I've been here. It accelerates perfect when it can't accelerate quickly, but when you take the inertia off the drivetrain, then obviously the engine can accelerate really quickly. So we just check every now and again, because we have had a situation in the past where the engine went out, it ran sweet as another dyno. When you came to rev it, the pump jets were too big, so as soon as you went to rev it, it flooded it with fuel before it got a chance to accelerate. So we'll fire it up together now, and we'll just check. Right, sorry about the pause in the video in there. I had to just take the microphone off, because if it gets too loud the microphone can't cope, whereas the phone can. So I just made the second part of the video there with the phone without using the microphone. Now the engine picked up fine. I'm quite happy for it to go out, so yeah, everything's good. We'll get this one in the outro. Good morning, YouTubers. You may recognise this engine if you're a keen Shrigley tuber. Going back to about a year ago now, I'll put a little link at the end of this part of the video. I did an engine called the 1200cc Stealth engine, where we used a shorter connecting rod. Hang on, have I got that right? No, we used a standard connecting rod with a shorter compression height piston and a 69.5mm crankshaft to create a big engine inside a standard height block, so as it all looked aesthetically correct. Now this engine, I dynoed it with just some dummy carbs on, etc., because it was going down to Rodwell Motorsports, been mapped, it was going to have fuel injection put on it, hence the Dizzy's been blanked off, blah blah blah. Now the bloke that owns it is quite a particular chap, and he likes things just the way he likes them. And he decided not to go ahead with putting this on fuel injection, something to do with the car and the originality of the car, and it was going to be a lot of messing with the fuel injection pipes and fuel tanks, etc. So he said, would I put carbs on it and run it again for him and get a good tune out of it and put a Dizzy back in it, etc. So I said, yeah, no worries, but I'll have to hit the sump off to knock this bung out, and we're going to change a few bits and pieces. And he said, oh, also, he said, I watched your YouTube video, and he said, I wasn't very keen on the cam carrier that you used. So I was like, oh, right, okay. He said, was it second hand? I said, well, it was, it was a proper Carter sleeved one. It's a good carrier, like, it won't be an issue. He said, well, I like my new parts. I said, well, fair enough. So we got this made anyway. So this is a brand new CNC Miles Castaldini performance components there, and this is a brand new carrier, and these are nice. I use these in the long valved engines, so, or something similar to that, not actually the same as that, but yeah, that's to run on the standard size bucket, etc. But you can see he's machined it all as one, so you get a little bit of extra support for the bucket as it pops out at the bottom of the carrier. So I'm going to take this apart now, and I'm going to put this carrier in it. If I see anything exciting, I'll report to you, but it is brand new, so I don't expect to see anything in there. It's just going to come apart, back together, sump off, change the sump, and then we'll get the carbs on it, get a Dizzy in it, and we'll get a tune out of it on the dyno. Okay, YouTubers, nothing in life is ever straightforward. I've just pulled the top of this engine apart, and everything's looking great. All the cam followers look great, cam looks good, etc. This is the lovely bronze sleeve carrier that's the old school way of doing things. I do see where his concerns are, in that these little grub screws here locate the bronze sleeves in the housing, whereas this one is literally, it can't fail because it's all one piece. So this carrier, though, I've come to offer it up to the cylinder head, and because the diameter of the the shrouded part is bigger, it simply isn't interested in going on. So what we'll have to do next is take the cylinder head off, remove all the valves, manifold, etc., and then we'll relieve with the hurdy-gurdy to make clearance for the intruder on the bottom of the cam carrier, and then we'll get it back together. Right, okay, we've got the cylinder head removed, and just looking at this enormous imp engine, you can see the stroke on it, you know, obviously being a 70mm stroke, or should I say 69.5 to be accurate. The all looks like it's sealing correctly, and I mean, I was only proving the engine, I wasn't actually dynoing it and setting it up because it was getting fuel injection, so the car was a little bit rich, but I'm not too stressed about that. We'll set it up properly when we run it next with the Lortos we've got for it. There's the head, all the wheel strings sealing okay, so that's all good. So I'll strip the head next, and then we'll relieve the head for the cam carrier, and then we can start getting it put back together. Okay, YouTubers, little engine here that I'm personally really excited about. This is a chap that come to me, sort of wants a proper engine, all steel, etc. He made the mistake of using the words that I'll be guided by you. So I was like, oh, right, this is exciting. So I'm not very good at repetition, you know. Once I've done an engine one particular way and I've had a tune out of it, I need more brain food. I need to know what we can do next that's going to be different. So that's where this comes in, and basically it's going to be a long rodded 1200, but normally the long rodded 1200 we do is based on the long rod from the 998, the 60mm stroke. Now this is going to be an all new rod, which is longer again, which gives us the correct rod to stroke ratio in the with the 69.5mm steel crank. So this will be 1200cc. Obviously it's got to have these two monster spacers on top of the engine to get the dynamics correct inside. This is just a standard Talbot Sunbeam second-hand block that I'm boring out. As you see, I'm just boring it for the first liner there, and I thought we'll make a little video for you guys. So yeah, really excited about this. It's a shame that I can't get excited about all the other work that I've got to do in the workshop, but I think what I have to do is I have to like the person I'm working for, and then I have no problem getting on with the job. So yeah, this is an all new engine, and I'll keep you posted on its progress, and we'll get a tune out of it. I need to turn this around fairly quickly because the guy's already waited for quite a bit of time for it to get to this stage. Okay. Oh, last thing I was going to show you was I went for my mate's birthday curry last night. Did a little doggy bag, got my peshwar in on there, and in the oven, there you go. That's the remainder of my tea and my pal's tea as well. He said you can have mine. So it's all in there for me dinner. Okay chaps, I thought I'd have a little 5 minutes on this cylinder head that I've got on the milling machine here. Now I've just done an operation on it. I'll give you a bit of a background first. The head is the head that James Ibottson used for the first part of his last year's season. The engine that was the good one that had the con rod burst, the cap and the rod came out the side. Unfortunately it bruised the cylinder head quite badly, made a mess of it. So I was going to just throw it in the scrap bin, but it has got a bit of sentimental sort of history with me. This head was the first Imp Sport head I bought. So when I had my Imp when I was an apprentice at Ingersoll Rand, I bought this Imp Sport casting off Dr. Bob Allen, the Imp Club Spares guy, and I actually ported it out in the training school workshop one dinner time, and that was like, we're talking like 30 years ago or something. Anyway, so I've always wanted to save it. So I've thought, right, it's had a bruise. What's the best thing to do? Well, we know how to deal with it. We'll weld it all up so that it can't collapse again. And what the point of this video is, what has happened here is I've had to skim the top half of the block of the head, and the reason for that is because it's had so much heat, and even though I preheated the head, it had basically gone about, I reckon it was almost 20 thou high in the middle. So if I hadn't have dealt with it and skimmed this flat again, what would have happened was, when you tighten the cam carrier down, it will have stressed the cam, and the cam being made out of iron, because the carriers, there's nothing to the carrier, so the carrier would just, would just bend to suit. But obviously being an iron camshaft, what happens is, even though it's only say 10 thou each end to the centre being pulled, as it goes round, eventually the camshaft snaps, which I have experienced, believe it or not. So that's how I know that's what happens. So you've got to make sure this surface is flat. So I've just given it a quick skim there. It's all nice and flat now. And I was going to say, although it's a bit of a divert, I did work in Jersey for a while on the boats, and I worked with this really clever marine engineer called Nick, and Nick said to me, the reason why big boats sink out at sea is because the engine to the prop shaft alignment goes out of skew over years, i.e. the engine mounts sag, so there's a lot of pressure on the prop shaft, just like there is on the camshaft when the head's bent. And what happens is, over going round and round for years and years and years, thousands and thousands of times, eventually, even if it's on like a 10-inch prop shaft, it snaps. And it always snaps where the gland is at the back that seals it from the water. And because the propeller's trying to push the thing forward or whatever, the propeller drops out the back of the boat past the rudder, and all the water comes in, and that's why they sink. Well, that's what he told me anyway. But he was a clever bloke, so I imagine it's quite true. Anyway, we've gone a bit of a waffle there. So what I've done is skim that, so it'll be flat now. So when we put the cam carrier on, it'll seal. The cam won't be stressed. We're not going to get much involved with this head, but we will get involved with the bottom end that I've done for it next. Right, I've had a phone call from a chap who's got a car, and he's basically having a bit of work done on it. He said, I've not run the engine, but the car's been stood a while. Would you put it on your dyno and check it? So it's a 998 with a early 162 head on it. That's an early sport casting. We've just run it up together. Now, the owner of this engine wants to remain anonymous. He doesn't like the internet and YouTube, and it brings him out in a rash. So we're going to call him Mr. X. Now, Mr. X, we just ran it together in the cell, and it runs absolutely sweet as a nut. But unfortunately, it's actually dried up now. But can you see all the water on top of the block here? It was leaking. I thought the head had cracked initially, but the head hasn't cracked. It was all leaking down here. So I said, look, really, I think because it's been stood for a while, the paper gasket's dried out. It's probably good practice to take the head off and just replace the wheel screens, because we've established it doesn't smoke or breathe or anything like that, and it sounds sweet as a nut. So I'm just going to pull the head off, and I thought, we'll make a little video about it because it could be of some interest. We'll see what we see when we get the head off anyway. Okay, YouTubers, the story continues. Now, when this engine first came to me this morning, I looked at it and I thought, that's a lovely dipstick, that. Someone of a proper engineering background has made that. So it's got like a thread on it, a nice little insert. I did wonder if it was Ian Carter, but then I thought I'd seen it on a Bevan engine in the past, something similar to that. Anyway, took the head off now. Before we get involved with that, I just noticed that if I just zoom in there, the GB179 means it's a George Bevan 998. So what really interests me is I think the cylinder head is Ian Carter. It's sport valves, but the ports have been opened up quite nicely. And it's got the Ian Carter support screws, these screws that I always go on about that bridge the gap between the exhaust port floor and the chamber so it doesn't sag. So yeah, that's very interesting. So it's an Ian Carter head with the George Bevan bottom end. Now, I just spoke to the customer, and he said he thinks the chap that built the engine was the owner of the car. He's probably bought a kit of bits maybe in the 90s or something and done it all himself. Now, looking at this, I can just see, if you look, you can see like a silver ring where the Wills ring is seated, and we did have a black carbon line there where it had blown across. And you see what's happened? The rust has expanded on the top of the line, and this is very, very common, and it pushes the head off and allows the Wills ring to leak. So if we go to the corresponding area, see that black bit in the middle there? I suspect we've had a bit of a leak there. And also on number 4, if we look at the liner at the top, you can see the ring's quite prominent where it's sat there, but on the bottom it goes all a bit misty. So I suspect it's been pushing a bit round here as well, certainly there where the black is. But even if it ran okay on the dyno, I think if it had been left any amount of time in the car, we would have had a problem with this. So what I'm proposing to do, because the head looks really good in that all the wheel strings are squashed uniformly, the head hasn't sagged or anything, but we will check it all, is I'm going to strip it, faceplate it, make sure it's all flat, make sure the depth of the grooves are uniform, put a new set of wheel strings in it, clean all the head up and the block up, and then put it back together and get a tune out of it. It's got an R20 cam and carrier there, which all looks in good condition, and I just don't think it's done a great deal at all. So we'll just put it back together and then we'll get a tune out of it. Hopefully, unfortunately, it's not going to go back together until next week, so you won't see it until the following week's episode, unfortunately.
Right, the keen Shrigley tubers amongst you will remember the Ian Carter mini engine that goes on, well, sorry, it's an imp engine that goes on a mini gearbox. So it's a one-off special casting, and it's got this lovely Gordon Allen, maybe it's a Farndon crankshaft that goes on the end. So you might remember the video where I straightened the crankshaft and then I bolted it in with the standard size mains. It had 1.5 thou run out, and it just wasn't quite right going round. So we sent the crank in to Ken the crank, and it came back at 10s on the mains and 20s on the big end. So it's all nice and straight now, and it's been reground. So we've got new bearings here, so in a minute we're going to bolt it in and see if it goes round nice together. But you might remember I did a bit of a talk last week about the Farndon crankshaft that I fitted in the 1040 imp, and I was saying that there was something called a sludge trap, which is just past the diameter of the centre line of the big end. So if you imagine the oil comes down, comes in from the main to lubricate the big end here, but we've got these sludge traps here, and what they do is, if you've ever seen like a Honda 90 or any motorbikes like that, they have an oil filter system where it's called a centrifuge, and the idea is the centrifugal force spins the hard sediment, should we call it, or debris, whatever you want to call it, in the oil to the outside, and then the clean oil spins off down the middle. So it's pretty similar to what's happened here. So I've just took the sludge trap out on this one. I'm not sure we can actually focus, and it's actually solid. So I'll get a little screwdriver and we'll goo it out so you can see it. Oh, it's yummy. Look at that. Let's try and get it all out. So I'll put it on some cardboard so you can see the consistency. It's really thick. It's almost like graphite. It's quite smooth, and we can see some little bits of metal in it. But that's all the debris from the oil that's got caught over the years of this engine going round and round very fast. So what we'll do now is we're going to take all these bungs out and clean the crankshaft, probably in the ultrasonic tank, before it goes for balancing. But what we'll do next is we'll bolt it in the engine with the new bearings, and we'll see if it goes round nicely. Also, this engine had an issue where it'd been built with the thrust badly put together. The thrust was back to front on it, so the hard side of the thrust bearing was rubbing against the side of the crank. So Ken has very kindly cleaned up. I said, just take the minimum amount of metal you can to get it clean, so the thrust faces are nice and clean again. And we've managed to locate some +3 oversize thrust washers, so that's 6 now in total. I suspect it might be more, so then we'll have to look at what we can do with the thrust washer to pack it out, but that's another bridge to cross later on. So you've been watching this engine, James. Have you got any thoughts about this? It's like half an imp and half a mini.
Thanks for the tea, but why have I got your... I think I've got the wrong one.
Mate, that's my mate, Paul. Paul with the police imp, maybe, that cup. Is that good?
I remember the imp.
Yeah, remember it.
This is what you'd do if you want an imp, but you've got a mini.
Mate. Well, these were done by Ian Carter, and there was a guy called, his name, Ginger Marshall, always escapes me.
It was a
Reliant kitten in the
blue one.
Special saloons, and it was like mega successful. It was awesome.
Oh, yeah, it's got one of them in it.
Yeah,
engine.
Oh my god! Right, well,
sorry,
you are imp all the way, aren't you?
Yeah.
You got to appreciate other engines as well, mate. They've all got their own merits. Anyway, yeah, that was a cracking bit of kit. I am going to try and buy this off the guy again, because I'd love to own it, but I don't think he wants to sell it. Anyway, we'll keep plodding on with it, and we'll get the crank in next. Right, unfortunately, we've had a massive Andy blunder. I made a big mistake in assuming that because it was on Mini Cooper S inch and 5/8 big end pins, it would also be on Mini 998 mains pins, but it would appear that it's on the bigger main from like the A+ block, because I bought these bearings for a 998 Mini, and they're too small. So we'll have to get back to the supplier and swap them, or try and buy some more bearings, and then we'll try again. Every day is a school day.
Okay, YouTubers, I hope you've enjoyed tonight's show. I will actually see you if you want to join me again on Tuesday night, because I've done a different type of video just to try something out. I watch a lot of the videos made by the chaps in India and Pakistan where they do crazy crank repairs and engine rebuilds, and I thought to myself, no one ever does a voiceover because obviously it's just a job being done rather than talking about it. So I thought, well, what I could try and do is I could try and do a voiceover just to explain to you in simple terms. They're just for the people that don't fully understand, what's going on. So if you fancy watching that, I'll put that on Tuesday night. It's just a rebuild of a 6-cylinder engine, but amazing these skills these guys possess with the tools they've got, etc. It's quite amazing to watch. So I hope you enjoy that. And if you enjoy that, then I'll look forward to seeing you on Sunday night at 7 o'clock the following week, hopefully. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.